What's up, everybody? I have no idea if anybody's watching this at this particular moment or not, but long time no see. I think may have been one or two people that saw I did this episode before, but I deleted that because I felt it was a little bit disorganized. I wanted to put some things together to make sure that everybody, got a quality 30 minute stream of me explaining things. First of all, let me just say hi, I'm Tim, and this is a stream that I put together where I'm going to go through every single shot of the web series Dream of Me. If you haven't seen it, there's spoilers in the very first shot, so go watch the series, come back if you're interested in how it was made, and I'll explain some things to you. We're going to get a feel for things as we go along. I do have a chat open, so feel free to ask me any questions if I'm not getting to things that you want to hear about. All right. So we're going to start with the opening shot. Opening shot of a movie. Let me just click over here and get this stuff going. So we're just going to switch. There we go. And we are going to watch this through first. And I'll show you guys as we go. I'll explain how I made the very first shot, which, if anybody knows movies, for me, the first shot better be compelling. You better say, hey, this is not a movie that you're gonna want to miss. The first shot has to be something gripping, something that says, hey, you're in good hands. This filmmaker is going to take care of you for the next however long their thing is. So, 90 minutes, 2 hours. Anything longer than 2 hours, guys, that's not a movie to me. That's too long. I mean, movies are stories take as long as you need, as much time as they need to be told in full and the right way. But so this one took 30 minutes. But this Dream of Me is a precursor to I don't want to say space opera, but it's certainly operatic in scope and approach. It's a big pop art explosion. So let's just look at the first shot and let's see what the heck I'm drolling on about, and we'll see if this is interesting to anybody. All right, so first shot. Of course, Second Floor Pictures presents. Got to put the production company up front, but not much else. So this is the very first shot. We're going to watch it through. I have no idea what the quality is on this, by the way. First shot's about 10 seconds long. I'm going to do a separate a separate series of videos devoted to the audio, because that's a whole nother thing. So we're just talking about visuals with this stuff. All right, so this is a bit of an homage to 2001. There's a lot of homages to other films. I'll point them out as we go. But this one was an homage to the opening of 2001: Space Odyssey. There's actually 4 circles in this opening shot, but you can only see 2 of them, maybe 3 if you're good. All right, so what do we have here? We have a giant circle that's coming towards us, a planet essentially, but if we're going to talk about it in abstractions, it's just a giant circle. Then we have the star over here. I'm going to stop this real quick. and we're going to do some little drawing. Okay, so we have the star here. This star. If now again, spoilers. Like if you haven't watched the series, go watch it. So I'm already gonna get into like talking about giving away things in the story that are given away at the very end. So the star over here. This is Anzer. That's a real star in the Velpoculi. I have to look it up. Velpoculi. It's been a while since I've said that. It's a constellation that is roughly 230 to 250 light years from Earth. I have the latitude and longitude the ascension and declination. If you want to look it up, you can. It's a real star. It is a red dwarf, I believe. I wanted all of this to take place bathed in red sunlight, or a red key light. The whole movie takes place. There's a lot of red outside, not inside. Inside it's kind of a bluish purple, and we'll get to those shots. But the very first thing I decided was that I didn't want the outside world in this storyline to be blue, like so many other science fiction movies that you see. Everything's blue. That's like whenever you watch a science fiction movie these days, there's two things that they have in common. One, everybody's like dead and the world is destroyed, and everything's blue. And it's annoying to me. I'm tired of the color blue in science fiction. So I was like, why don't I do something red? How can I make mine red and make it a diegetic reason? Diegetic meaning of the story. Give the universe a unique look. So I decided, why don't I just set it in a solar system that is a solar system with a red star at the center. So I picked this particular one because it was halfway between Earth and, if you read the end credits, New Earth, which New Earth is Kepler 186f, which, if you look at the index of livable planets that the Kepler telescope has discovered, that's, I think, number 4 or 5 of possible places that could sustain life. So I tried to base everything in scientific fact, or as much scientific fact as I could find currently, based on what we know right now. So Kepler 186f is about 500 light years from Earth. So I tried to find a star that was kind of in that direction, and it was about halfway. And Anzer was it. So this is Anzer right here. Anzer. Now, this opening is a landscape. Technically, it's a space landscape. There's only two types of pictures, in my opinion. There you have portrait, which is like this. Yeesh, this is weird. Sorry, this thing is like at an angle. Trust me, I'm a much better drawer when I have the chance. So there's portrait. There's the happy little guy in a portrait. And then you have landscape. I guess I can't draw up there. All right. And there's mountains, and there's a tree there. That's a tree, I guess. And there's a sun. So, to me, you can do one of the two. There's only two types of pictures. By the way, just be forewarned, I compare filmmaking to painting a lot. A lot of people compare theater and movies. You're an idiot if you do that. I'm sorry. That's stupid. They couldn't be further from each other. Plays are, plays only existed because movies weren't around, as a friend of mine puts it. So when you're dealing with a canvas, because we're dealing with a movie, when you're dealing with a movie, which is like a painting to me, you're dealing with a canvas, and that canvas is either vertical or horizontal in the painting world. You can change the shape, you can do square, and you can do rectangle, but that's pretty much it. A lot of people think that the 4:3, which was closer to a square, the 1:33:1 aspect ratio, this was the old Academy version. This was harder to make interesting, and because the screen was a square, it was more objective because there was nothing that was favored in the composition. Like, you could move your focal point in the composition, but it would always have to be inside a square. So it had more of a objective viewpoint to it. A lot of people think that when color and widescreen came into filmmaking, you started to make it too easy for anybody to make something interesting. I personally prefer a square to most things. I'm not crazy about widescreen, despite the fact that I put this in 235 aspect ratio, which is, this. Or like a lot of people think, 16:9 is what we have now for TV and stuff. So this more cinematic scope, that's 235:1. Is that it? Something like that. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. Rectangle or square. That's it. Now, but the way I look at this 235 structure is that it's two squares. 1, 2, side by side. So essentially, I look at this whole screen as a book. Okay? So when you're reading it, you tend to look, in America anyway, we look from the left to the right. We start on the left. Now, Anzer, if you noticed, I'm going to just erase some things real quick. Anzer, if you noticed, is on the left, and it's on the left because I'm trying to make you look at the star first for an all-important reason. Oh, I think I can erase on this too. Oh, yeah, I can erase. Oh, fabulous. All right, so Anzer is on the left, and it's the brightest for two reasons. One, they say that the human eye tends to go to the brightest spot of every picture first. That tends to be the thing that captures us. Human beings are always kind of fascinated by light. It's like that deer in the headlights type of look. Now, so if you look at this as two halves, you have all this light over here. There's all this light. Okay. Now all that light, and then there's all this darkness over here. That's important. That there's going to be a repetition of the right side of the screen being dark and the left side being light, or vice versa. The right brain, left brain. You're going to see a lot of light on one side and darkness on the other in the whole series. Now, the reason that Anzer is over here, and there's light reflecting off of this, and there's light here, and you see second floor pictures presents in the middle, is because I'm distracting everybody from something that I had to put in the opening shot but didn't want anybody to notice, which is down here. Now, this might be hard to see on the stream because I don't know. I'm not sure how the quality looks on this. Yeah, bear with me on most of what I'm doing because everything's kind of jury-rigged up here, and I got all kinds of cords coming out of one MacBook. So if you look down here, you'll see that right there is the carousel, which is where Albus Corona, the hero, is on. So this opening shot shows you the whole story, essentially. By the way, the circle, you're going to see a repetition of circles a lot in this. Even the carousel itself is a giant circle. The star is a circle. So get ready for a lot of circle talk when we talk about art direction and stuff. Those were conscious choices. One of the things that I want to point out real quick is that if you look at the surrounding part of Anzer, this part here, the red part, that is actually called the corona, which is an aura that a star gives off, is known as the corona, which is partly where Corona's name comes from. Just wanted to throw that out there. Okay, let me erase this and let me play this shot a little bit and let it go forward just a touch, because what's happening now is in this shot we have this slight push in, so we feel like we're moving through space. It's happening. It is moving. It's moving very, very slowly. Now, as the second floor pictures present starts to fade out, we start to just kind of be sucked into this dark kind of hole here in the focal point as we look, as our eye goes kind of here and here. Now, if you notice, the edges of the planet are approaching the edges of the screen, and I did that on purpose. When you watch it with the sound, you'll notice the sound starts ramping up, and we're moving in, like we're moving through space, and I'm drawing you into the story and into the into the world, into the universe. Now, real quick, and we already talked about how this is two squares. Another way that you can divide the screen is down the middle. Now, when you do that, well, you can always also do it this way. Once again, you have 4 equal parts, which the number 4 is repeated a lot in this. Now, these two lines I use compositionally a lot, these diagonal lines. This particular line, if you notice, the star draws your the star has the lens flare, and that draws your eye into where the title was, and then you have this over here. So all of those are on the same line. Now that's not exactly a right triangle split, but it's pretty close, and that was all done, of course, purposefully, just to make it more interesting. Now, once I've pointed this out, you're going to see it every time. You're going to be looking over here, because you know I don't want you to be looking over here. But the first watch through, you see this. I always like to try and make my films more interesting on a second watch. If you're ever watching my stuff and you watch it once, you haven't seen it all. At least that's what I try to do anyway. All right, let's talk about the font real quick. So the font, let me get in here. Now the font, you'll notice, is the E is 2 squares, one on top of each other. And the circles are perfect circles. And all of the angles and everything in this font was picked particularly because of how round the O's were and how squared off all of the other angles were. When in terms of the letters and the well, the letters. It's text. Sorry, I was distracted. The dog was making a noise. Thought maybe it was somebody was coming home. My roommate might be coming home at some point. He may make a special appearance. Who knows? So, choosing the font was a little bit challenging because I wanted to make sure that I kept that circle motif going throughout every choice I could. I mean, I'm one of those people. If you're not using, maybe I should keep it a little bit bigger. I don't know. If you're not using every single tool in your toolbox to tell your story or to tell some aspect of your story or to communicate something to the audience, you're failing. When I watch a movie and I see missed opportunities, that's when I think it's not a great movie. When I don't spot any missed opportunities to tell the story, like meaning color and shape, then I think that's a good movie. So another thing I'm doing here is I'm telling something about this planet by making it green. For one thing, you have this whole green section on the left side. Now our hero is over here, which means the greener pasture is on the opposite side of the planet, which means, it's kind of a grass is always greener type situation for him. He's not in a great place. So the other thing, the reason the carousel is a circle is because at this time in my life, I was feeling a little bit like a hamster on a wheel. I was going through kind of a quarter-life crisis, and I was like, something? Maybe I was like, what if I told a story that was about a guy who was trapped on the biggest hamster wheel in the galaxy, in the universe? So that was kind of where the imagery started coming from. Then, of course, the inevitable comparisons to 2001 and like Halo started. Dogs moving around. So the reason the planet is green is because this is the planet that the alien, or the inhabitants, I should say, of the current inhabitants of the carousel are from this planet. I'm not going to reveal how they got there because that's for another storyline. But I was trying to connect the color green with the planet and let you know that whilst this is orbiting the planet, this planet belonged to the creatures that were on it. And I try to tell that with the color. What else? Okay, the stars back here, those were done digitally. The stars were, I think, the only thing that not all of the stars, but most of the stars, these particular ones were just done in Photoshop. The planet was actually done. I'm going to bring up some stuff here real quick. All right, we're going to look at some pictures of how I made the planet. So the first one, this is my pan that I was cooking in at the time I was making this. This is mustard powder in oil, heated up to kind of get this random bubbly effect. Now, this was done by accident at first. I know, I remember somebody saying, dude, you add spices to the oil before you start cooking. You're supposed to add the spices to the thing that you want the spices on. And I was like, oh, all right. But I was glad I wasn't taught properly, because I never would have gotten this and been looking down while cooking and been like, oh, I could probably use this as a planet because it's perfectly round and all that. So I took a series of photos with some soft focus, some hard focus, and kind of moved around to get the light reflecting the way I wanted it to reflect. And I did all these little things, and then I eventually composite all those in Photoshop, and then I came up with this, which you can still see some of the bubbles on here, which I photoshopped some of them out, but they kind of look like craters and stuff. So I changed I messed with the colors. I added a bunch of different layers. In After Effects, I layered them and then twisted them slowly, so it had like a little bit of a movement to it. In the final, that's a night version. So basically what I did was I took these dark circle and laid it over this and moved it to the right. Like I moved it, from the left to the right as the light was supposed to be like kind of moving, or like the sun was coming up as it was rotating around the sun, around Anzur, the sun, the star. And it ended up working out really well. I was pretty proud of that. Another thing I did. Okay, so this part here, the like atmosphere and the light here, this shine, that was all actually shot. Let me see here. Oh, here we go. That was actually shot with right here. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I was watching Mad Max while I was doing this. So the ball I just filmed with some light shining on it. This is just a little rubber ball, like a hand, like the size of a hand. And then I manipulated that and then put that together. Then I put that together quit out of there. I put that together with the Photoshop picture. Excuse me, I'm getting distracted. Put that together with the Photoshop picture in After Effects and composited them all together, and then just started manipulating things until I got something that looked like a planet, and then gave it some space to sit in. Now, why so many steps? Why do so much? I mean, obviously, the effects turned out really well. I'll also show you. This is a star. I think that's partly part of Anzur. I composited a few different ones together. This was my cell phone light that I just aimed the camera at and filmed some footage of. That's video footage. And then I did another one here in which I moved it and I used this lens flare to and I like kind of slowed it down and animated it to be basically the way the star, like make it feel like the star was kind of moving across the sky, across the lens. Then I angled it so that it was, kind of going down to the right and yada yada yada. The reason I did that instead of doing digital flares is digital flares always look crappy to me. And the other thing is every lens, we're going to get real nerdy here for a second. Every lens out there has a particular feel. Every camera has a particular, it's like a fingerprint to me. The reason, I'm going to pull out my camera that I filmed this with. Yeah, let me switch to the bigger video here for a second. Okay, so this is the camera that I shot the whole series with. Nothing special. It's a Nikon D7000. It's not anything spectacular. It's really old. You could probably buy it for like I bet you could get a used one for like 200 and something dollars, something like that, whatever. So every camera, as I was saying, has its own unique sensor, and I say that every camera, meaning every camera that comes off an assembly line, not necessarily every particular model of camera. Now, different models of cameras, of course, they're similar. I'm going to put the lens cap back on, but inside there is a sensor, and light bouncing off the sensor is what creates the image, based on what light hits it and what light doesn't hit it. So, for me, a lot of people think the canvas starts on the up on the screen, like the screen is the canvas. The canvas for me starts at the sensor. If you're not bouncing light off a sensor, you're skipping a step. That's part of the reason CG looks so crappy. Matte paintings, to me, always look better because they're filming a painting. They're actually bouncing light off of film and capturing the light inside of a camera before it goes to the next step. So CG, to me, if you want to make your CG look better, your computer-generated stuff, you would project it onto a piece of glass and then film it again with the same camera that you filmed everything else in your movie with. To me, that would be the way to make the whole movie have a cohesive look, which it worked out pretty well with Dream of Me, in my opinion. So all of these things that you see might have been like the star. There's several things that were composited together to make the star. The lens flare, the planet, the rubber ball that I shot to get the light correct. The whatchamacallit, the carousel, which, by the way, the carousel is right here. Here's the way that looks when it's blown up. This is, I think I also shot, that's yet another, okay, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't switch back, let me switch back to, okay, sorry, I was saying, so the star, the rubber ball, the pan with the stuff in it that was manipulated in Photoshop. Always start with something real. Don't create something out of nothing in the computer if you can avoid it. If you always start with a real thing bouncing off of a sensor, you're going to get imperfections and things that's going to make things look better. One of my biggest complaints about movies, like I was just watching the trailer for The Kingsman 2, that's going to date this, but Kingsman 2, it looks so cartoonish that it's got no grit, it's got no realistic quality to the imagery, where it feels like, like it was a tangible, lived-in universe. Like, everything looks so clean and cartoonish. I mean, that particular movie might be a bad example because that's what they're going for, but all the movies coming out now, the CG artists, because they can do whatever they want, they overdo it, in my opinion. Anyways, but the carousel, the photo of even this little thing here, the carousel in the corner, and everything else in this entire shot, aside from the stars, which we'll talk about those in a second, was bounced off the sensor of the same camera, then composited together and manipulated in terms of color and perspective and size. But they all were bounced off the same sensor. So to me, it gives it a more uniform look. Now, when it comes to the stars, in order to make the stars feel more cohesive to everything, I did digital stars because I was like, it would take too long to shoot a bunch of little lights to do that. Although some of them are little lights. Some of the brighter ones are little lights that I did actually film. Those, if I could do it again, I probably would have painted a piece of glass black and put a light behind it and shown it through, and then done them that way. I thought of that after, but I didn't do that. But one thing I did do was I shot a wall. I just shot a wall of black, and took that black and superimposed it over the stars so that I could get that chatter, that graininess, that noise that's unique to each camera of that light bouncing on the sensor. And then when I superimposed those, when I put everything together, I manipulated each thing in After Effects. I'm going to probably have to do I might not be able to do a live stream on After Effects because it chews through so much of my CPU that I can't really stream and use that program at the same time, not with my current setup. So maybe when I get better equipment I can do that, but putting all those things together, it adds this authenticity to the imagery by making sure that it's all bounced off the same camera. So even though my camera is not a great camera, that the time and care that I took with each individual element bouncing that light off the same sensor made it feel like it was a chosen style. One thing I say all the time is that consistency is evidence of choice. So if you do something and you're consistent with it, all of a sudden it looks like a choice, and then your choice can be interpreted as a style. And then all of a sudden you're convincing people that you have a style, when you might not. It might just be, a style that came out of necessity. In my case, not having anything to work with and having zero budget, and working alone. So let me erase this stuff. We're going to play it through once more. Let's see here. It's exciting. I'll have to do another way. We'll have to do the sound a different way in the future. I think I'm running out of things to say, which is a sign that I should be wrapping up. Compositing. I think that's about it. Oh, one thing I want to say about cinematography wise, the reason I chose the lens, couldn't choose a lens. All I had was the all I had was the one lens, the stock lens that came with that camera that I had, which was, by the way, if anyone's interested, it's an 18-105, and it's just a Nikkor. I mean, it's a really crappy lens. It's just what came with the camera when I bought it. But it's a circular. The bokeh on it is circular because it's a circular lens, and that was chosen specific. I would have chosen a circular lens anyway because I like circular bokeh. Most people like that cinematic. What do you call it? The stretched flare. Why is that word escaping me? Anamorphic lenses. To me, they're fine, but I'm obsessed with circles, as we'll see as you watch this whole thing as we go through. I think that's it. I don't know how long I've been. Somebody popped up in the chat here. I hate to leave you alone, and this is super interesting stuff, but I have a cold right now, and I feel like the world is ending. I'll definitely watch the replay, though. Love Dream of Me, by the way. Thank you. I hope you feel better. That's a bummer about your cold. And I'm sorry, you probably already left. Nerix45635. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and thanks for stopping by to check it out. Hopefully the next shot I know is not quite as exciting. It's the next shot is not quite as exciting, but I think that's all I'm gonna do for tonight. But I will try to stream more regularly because now I have everything kind of set up and I know how to set up my stuff quickly. I'm working on a bunch of projects right now, and I'm writing a script with my my creative partner, and hopefully something comes of that, which will be exciting to have somebody interested in purchasing a script as a feature. So I'll keep you guys abreast on that and other things that are going on. The world is a crazy place right now, and so it's nice to escape and talk about this other universe that I've created. And you guys are all welcome to join whenever you can. Also, if you want, these shirts are on sale. If you guys want to buy one, I'm only doing I think 150 of them. I think I've sold like 30 so far. I think there might be a link in the description. I'll put it if it isn't there. So you can check those out. Because I'll probably have to do a whole episode devoted to Dot, because she's I think the best thing I've ever created. So I hate to qualify her, but I think she's a pretty great little storytelling tool. So have a nice if I forgot anything that I didn't talk about, comment below, subscribe if you're just finding this. Please share the series with other people. I'm living in LA now, for those of you who want to be updated and on what's going on with me personally. What else can I tell you about? I don't think there's much else to talk about right now. I'm kind of hungry. I think I'm gonna make some chicken. So I think that's it for today, and I will try to do the next one. I'll try not to wait so long. Maybe I'll try to do 2 streams a week if I can. Maybe more. We have a lot to get through, because every single shot presented a challenge. This shot, actually, real quickly, this shot wasn't in my storyboard. It was actually not originally part of anything that I was planning on, but I showed the film. I showed a cut to a friend, and they immediately were like, they had questions about the opening shot. They were like, is this Earth? Is it not Earth? And I was like, okay, well, maybe I should put a better first shot that can answer some of those questions out there. So the other thing is I wanted to I like extreme close-ups, and I like extreme wide shots. Medium shots tend to bore me, so we go from the widest, like a God's eye view where we can't even see the character. Like it's just a shot that has seemingly no connection to the rest of the film when you watch it on its first viewing or series. But when you cut into the close-up, I wanted to tie together the 2 shots with color. We're gonna have to talk. There's a lot to talk about. I'm excited to start doing these. I've been trying to do them for a while. I've just been very, very busy, which isn't a bad thing. That's a good thing. And we'll also talk about all these posters and all that. These things. The posters. Wait, this one? There. And we'll talk about those designs, talk about branding, we'll talk about marketing, we'll talk about a whole bunch of stuff, and like how to create a character, or at least how I created this character of Captain Albus Bennett Corona of the Patriots program, for those of you who don't know, because there's a lot hidden in this, guys. You're going to enjoy it. Just looking at the chat, seeing if anybody else is there. No. Anyhow, I'm kind of just meandering now. So if you guys, I do have a Patreon, but I'm working on another thing that has a Patreon. So like, I don't know. If you guys want to, that would be great. Maybe I should set up a PayPal thing or something like that. That would be just for tips or whatever. But I guarantee you, by the time I get through this series, you will be able to make a film of this quality yourself if you have the patience and the time. Because skill is developed, but patience is developed too. But time is something that you can't. You either use it or you don't. So, I'm getting all philosophical. All right, take it easy. Peace in the Middle East. Get good in the hood. Eat your vegetables. Talk to you guys next time.